Hello, everybody. I am Bart Robley. Welcome to the Drummers Education Connection. I am here with some of my favorite people on the face of the planet today. Jeremy Steinkohler up in the Bay Area, Rick Stojak down in San Diego, Chip Ritter in Tucson, and from Mars, live from Mars, our special guest, the man, the myth, the legend, A&R superstar, Chris Brady. Chris, how are you, buddy?
Guys, I'm doing great. How are you boys doing?
Good. You know, Chris and our relationship is a little bit more than just the A&R artist relationship. Chris is a dear friend of mine. He has been the A&R rep for how long have you been with Aquarian? No, we're not at all.
Not so much.
This,
I told him not to say that.
this November, I think, will be 25 years.
25 years.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And you know, the thing that I have to say this about you with Aquarian, you know, the legacy and the name that Roy helped establish with Aquarian Drumheads has definitely been carried on by you. You know, when we announced yesterday that you were going to be our guest on here, so many people come on and Chris is the best. Everybody, you know, hands down. I mean, the greatest A&R rep in the business, Chris. Sincerely, you're a great guy, a great friend, and everybody knows you and respects you so much. So
That's because I deleted all the negative comments.
That's everybody. Anything that anybody said bad about you, you just went and X'd out. You know, yeah, exactly. Well, that's the way you got to do it, man. That's the way you got to do it. So, 25 years with Aquarian. So, I guess my first question is this: and I've said this to you before. One of my favorite things about going to Aquarian to get product and stuff like that, it's a hang. You know, you go over there and you're there for a while. It's not just, okay, yeah, it's good to see you. How's it going? Okay, get your stuff and go. It's a hang. How do you guys establish that? It's such a great relationship when you're involved with Aquarian. How do you do that with all your artists?
Well, that's Roy's legacy.
Yeah.
That's you know, I'm kind of a grumpy old curmudgeon now. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's how Roy was. You guys know that.
Yeah. He really was. He was a great guy.
I don't know if you and Jeremy ever got a visit when Roy was still present. Did you?
I didn't get down to the warehouse or the factory. I met him at NAMM.
Yeah, but I know Rick and I know Bart were both at the office and got to sit down with Roy and chat. Oh, yeah. And those chats, were always, they could be what, a half an hour?
Oh yeah.
Maybe
I got to hang out with Roy at NAMM, and he knew my DVD and stuff, and he knew who I was, and we talked for a while. He was a great guy.
Yeah,
he was so accessible.
Yeah.
He really was.
It's just basically carrying on that tradition.
Yeah. And I think that was the thing that Roy did, and the vibe is still there at Aquarian, is that Roy really cared about the drummers and what they were doing and their opinions. I remember he was writing an article one time, and, you know, everything was written on a yellow tablet, you know, by hand. And he goes, hey, do me a favor, read this for me and tell me if it makes sense and if it's still relevant today. And it was a little article that he was writing about recording. And I was just like, man, that is so cool. You know, he really cared about my opinion. And that's what I always get from Aquarian whenever I go in there. You guys really care about what it is that we're out here trying to do and what we are doing and the needs that we have as drummers. And that's really cool.
Well, Roy, you know, when he passed away, I was honored enough to get asked to do the eulogy by his wife. And the theme for the eulogy was champion, meaning Roy was a champion in his achievements, you know, excelling at a high level. But he was also a champion for us drummers, meaning he always was our advocate, and he was always looking out for us and sticking up for us. You know, he hated to see drummers get, you know, railed or picked on by the guitar player or the horn section. And he helped out quite a few other artists and students of his combat that because that really bothered him. So, you know, he was a champion for us in that way as well.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that is also great about Aquarian is the way you work with artists on product and some of the products, how product development. Talk to us a little bit about that. How does it work out with Aquarian and artists and product development? How does something like that go into play? You know,
Well,
to where it goes from.
I came up with a great idea for the kick patch.
Oh, did you? How did that work out for you, Chris? How did you come up with that, Chris? I'm just curious.
No, well, to your point, that was an idea that came from you. That the impetus for the kick patch was your idea.
Actually, it was my bass player's idea, Greg Kasparian. I got to give credit where it's credit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I don't feel so bad taking the credit then. No, you know, a great deal of our products are artist driven. And before I even got there, you know, the super kick, cymbal springs, all those things were as a result of artist requests or maybe enough requests from consumers, you know, the working drummer, and you know, a good many products come about that way.
Right. That's awesome.
Like the kick patch and triple threat and the reflector series, and some of those are general kind of collective suggestions, and others are specific, like the kick patch that came from you. The reflector, that was sort of revolved around Eric Moore and working with Eric and trying to develop that over time, kind of honing it in. So certain products are specific to certain artists, the D.E.C head, things like that. Mm-hmm. And others are just a collective of, you know, requests that might come in. You get enough of them and you're like, hey, let's explore this.
Right. I thought that the kick patch, I mean, the way it came to be was we were playing that NAMM Jam. I don't even remember what year it was, but we're doing the NAMM Jam, and all these drummers were coming in and playing on my kit. And my bass player, Greg, he goes, what are you going to do if somebody goes through your bass drum head? And I was like, never thought of that.
Yeah.
And you guys had just come out with the Duradot.
Right.
And I was like, hey, you know, and so the next day, because that was like on a Saturday night. So the next day at NAMM, I went down and, hey, Chris, I got an idea. And we talked to Ron about it. And it came to be. And it was really nice to have something that, you know, hey, I got an idea. Let's try this and have it work out. And drummers it's helped. Drummers, you know, it's helped us, you know, and because, you know, unfortunately you break heads and you break a bass drum head and you got a spare tire to get you through the gig. So that's great, man. That's fantastic.
Now, sometimes you get unusual requests. And Bart, you've been into the office enough times. You've seen the drum stick with the heavy spring in the middle and it's cut in half. And it's the drum stick. It's cut in half. There's a spring in the middle, and when you play it, it goes waggle, 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 waggle. The thought was it was going to help you swing harder.
And that didn't work?
No. Oddly enough, Roy didn't run with that one.
That's weird.
So, you know, they're not all things we can develop or even are interested in exploring, but. Yeah, product development as artists and the working drummer.
That's fantastic.
Hey, Chris, how did you get involved with Aquarian to begin with? Take us back to your roots with the company.
Sure.
How did that happen?
Basically, I was just teaching and playing at night. That's when there were still clubs. You could still do top 40 4 or 5 nights a week and weddings, and so I was doing that, teaching and working part-time and going to college. And the working part-time thing sort of came to an end. And I just got married, I think one daughter on the way. And I thought, you know, I need to start doing something here that I can sort of count on. Now I've got a family started, and just playing top 40 may not get me through. It was already starting to decline a little bit, and now there's hardly any clubs where you can go out and play 4 or 5 nights a week. And so just on a whim, this one gig stopped. They closed the shop, and we went in one day, and everything was locked. And it's like, oh, I guess we're not working here anymore. And
Oh man.
and I just decided to send out a resume to a bunch of companies, local, and Aquarian was one of them. And I didn't think much of it. About a week later, I think Roy called, and he said, hey, you want to come in and interview? And I was shocked. I'd also sent one to, I think, May Mike Systems.
May Mike's.
And he was very nice. He sent me a letter back saying, hey, there's nothing here now, but I appreciate your interest. But Roy called, I went in and interviewed, and I was scared out of my mind. Because up to that point, I've never done a formal interview, like where you sit in front of people and they grill you.
Mhm.
I was just working in a store, music store, teaching. It was all kind of, self-employed stuff in a way. So I remember driving up there and it was a weird day. It was like, those days we get the really hazy, that yellow days where it's kind of like Soylent Green.
Right.
It seemed like the end of the world. And I'm driving in my car. Anyway, I got up there and they grilled me, Ron and Roy, and I got home, and about a day later, they said, well, if you want the job, it's yours. And I said, okay, when do you want me to start? And he said, like next Monday. That was 25 years ago, starting next month.
Wow.
Wow. Chris, that's
cool.
probably a record breaker for staying with the same company in A&R.
Well, I'll tell you this. There's a lot of people in the industry that have been in the industry as long as I have or longer, but not too many with the same company.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah.
Chris, how has your job changed and evolved over those 25 years?
Well, we're a small company, and so we don't have a lot of departments and compartmentalization. I guess what I'm saying is everybody does everything.
Mm-hmm.
There is no, I just do this. Mm-hmm. That doesn't exist. So you might go out and pack an order. You might go pull an order. You might shoot off an invoice. You might be asked to, like some of the things I've done in the past. Hey, Chris, we need to be barcoded. That was like my second month. I'm like, barcode? What are you talking about, barcoding? So I had to learn about barcoding and implement barcoding, or marketing, like, creating the logo or a new website or ads, or working with the export, the international clients, or the chain stores. And we all do that. There's not one person that doesn't sort of cross over. And I think of it like a special forces team. They have specialists, but everybody in that team, if somebody goes down, if the medic goes down, they all have enough medical knowledge. They could kind of jump in and, do some basic medical triage kind of stuff. And that's the way it is at Aquarium. If one of us isn't there, somebody else jumps in and knows what to do.
I've noticed that, just being around the shop as much as I have, that everybody does kind of do everything. Everybody does. And again, it goes back to another thing I want to say. It goes back to what I originally said. Everybody there is just, you guys are all, you get the family vibe there. Everybody really cares about each other, and they're really, you guys are all really good friends. And I think that speaks volumes about why you would stay there for that long, and why the company is successful, is because the whole vibe is that of one of the people that care about one another. I think that's one of my favorite things about going over there. Just get to hang out and see how everybody's doing.
Well, it can sometimes sound cliche, but it really is a family thing. I've been there 25 years, and everybody else has been there longer than me. Some of the people there have been there 35 years.
Wow.
And so it really is a family. We spend more time with each other than we do our own families. And there is a very much a family element. And that spills over in a lot of what we do. So, I've had this conversation with Mike and some other guys at the shop, and I've talked to other guys at other companies, and they'll say, oh, well, this is just business, whether they're dealing with an artist or a company. And I told Mike, I said, this isn't, first of all, business is all relationships. So it's not just business. Business is relationships. And I said, secondly, we're a family. So this goes beyond just business, meaning, we take things to heart. If somebody burns us, if somebody does wrong by us, think of it if it was your family, your son or your daughter, the protective, that mama bear thing comes out. And I think we all have that sort of approach at Aquarian. It's not just a job. It goes a little deeper than that for us.
Right. Well, I want to comment that my experience with Aquarian from the very beginning was feeling like I was treated like a very important person. And I didn't even think of myself as a very important person at the time, like I'm just some other drummer on the roster or whatever. But, I've had, at the time I had a couple of other endorsements with other companies, and I just felt like a nobody. And they wouldn't return my calls or my emails. And I remember, when I first talked to you, placing my first order, you probably don't remember this. You said, well, why don't you, I wasn't sure about which heads to get because I use these, but I was, now that I had access to the whole catalog, you said, why don't I send you one of every 10-inch head we have, and you can try them all out and, see what works. And I was like,
what was I thinking that day?
Yeah.
Let's not make that a habit.
Well, we ended up placing a pretty big order for Bandworks too. So that was a pretty savvy move on your part. But anyways, just echoing back what you're talking about, it being all about relationships, and it's really a people business. And I felt that right from the get-go, and I felt that ever since. And that's part of why I love Aquarian, why I love you, Chris, and why I think you're such a great guy, what you do.
Well, thank you. Roy was super famous. He was a legend. But the rest of us at Aquarian, we're just, working drummers. Mike, myself, we're just regular working guys. And I was on the phone with the gentleman today. He was like, "Oh, Chris, I can't believe I got to hold you on the phone. Thank you so much for your time." And I'm like, whoa. I'm a nobody in this business. I haven't played on a hit record. I just work here. I do a myriad of things. And that's it. It's like, I'm just, there's nothing special. I'm a regular dude. Please don't do that. It's like,
that's, we share a common, you're much better friends with him than I am, but with Greg Bissonette. And that was the first thing that he said when he was on the show. I introduced him and I said, one of the, most sought out, greatest drummers on the planet, Greg Bissonette. And he goes, first thing he says, he goes, I'm one of the drummers on the planet. And he just left it at that. And I think that kind of outlook that you're just, hey, I'm just one of the guys.
I also thought he said one of the first things was, Chris made me be here.
Yeah, he did. He said Chris made him do it. So, whatever.
That was before he got the call from Ringo, which he made sure happened while he was on the road.
Yeah, that was cool.
Guys, by the way, I was texting with Greg earlier, and he said to say hi to all, because I told him I was going to jump on at 11. And he said to say hi to everybody. He had a great time, and he thought you were all great guys. He said, I love Bart. He's never met, I don't think he's ever met Chip or Rick or Jeremy, but he said, Bart's a great guy. And I have to echo Jeremy's statement. I said, are we talking about the same Bart?
No, I'll send him the $100 later today. I'm going to put the check in the mail. As soon as we get off, I'm dropping the check in the mail. I promise that I am.
And also, Jeremy, he wanted me to let you know that he got your book and he's enjoying it.
Oh, great. That's
he
really
liked
nice.
the part about endorsements and Mike Clark and Garibaldi and all that stuff. He's enjoying your book. So he said, tell Jeremy I got the book and thank him.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so
Oh,
glad he
that's
sounds
so
like he's
cool.
already deep into it. That's great.
Here's the
You
two
should do
books that I read every day. I read this book and then the Bible. And I told Jeremy, I'm like, they go
Wait,
side by side.
which one's the Bible?
The one with the drum on it.
Look, there's going to be a bolt of lightning in San Francisco. And Jeremy's going to be like the drummer in Spinal Tap. He's just going to explode.
You are
Wow.
healed.
This-
Okay, so
What
I
about
got to
your
ask this.
favorite?
Let's
What's
get around to endorsements. Let's get around to endorsements. Being the A&R guy, you've told me many stories about, requests that you get, and we'll have a laugh or two. Talk to people that are watching this and they might be seeking out an endorsement. They want to find an endorsement with a company. Let's say it's Aquarian Drumheads. I want to play your drumheads because I think they're the greatest things in the world. And what would you tell somebody not to do? What are some of the things you would say don't do if you're trying to get an endorsement with a company? Let's start with that because there's some great stories.
We could do that. Yeah. What might be interesting too is to get the four perspectives from each of you as well. It'd be interesting to hear, because Jeremy, you've got a section in your book about it.
Right.
And it'd be interesting to hear your four thoughts or approaches to endorsements as well. I mean,
Perfect.
There's a couple of cardinal things. One is really you should already be playing the product and you should be knowledgeable on some level. Otherwise, it just seems mercenary.
Right.
And secondly, I know in the age of 140 characters or brief little memes or texts, people like to just burn in and out. But really, if you're going to approach a company and you're not being introduced by somebody else, you really need to put your best foot forward. And I get so many emails. They're just one sentence. And it'll say,
Wait, what's the
how do I,
sentence?
what's that?
Yeah, what do they say?
What's the sentence? It got to be really good if it's one
No,
sentence.
there's no salutation. It's just, how do I get endorsement? Not even how do I get an endorsement? How do I get endorsement? And sometimes endorsement spelled wrong. There's like a C in there.
Let's see.
I'm not kidding you. And if I get one of those, I delete it. I don't. That doesn't even warrant a response. Because in my mind, if you're going to ask to be part of a family, a company, you have to take the time to construct a proper introduction. And, it doesn't need to be, nobody wants to see 4 paragraphs, and they don't want to hear your whole history. But it should be, dear sirs, dear Aquarian, if they know your name, dear Chris, blah, 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 blah. Let me introduce myself briefly. And this kind of thing, but this 1 or 2 sentences and sometimes I don't even put their name. I don't even know who to respond to.
Well,
So if you're reaching out to a company, those would be the cardinal things. You really should know the product and play it and want to be there. It shouldn't just be, this is low hanging fruit. This is the best I can do right now. So I guess I'll do this. But what I really want to play is brand X, and I'll just have to wait it out. And then if you're going to reach out, construct a proper, inquiry, I guess. Those would be the first 2 things.
boy, that's like setting the bar pretty low. Even like write an email that is like, like a human being would write one. I mean, come on.
I think one of the insightful things that Roy and the Aquarian team brought to the table is recognizing educators as endorsements. So I was playing, this was 1998. I was already playing around, but I was teaching drums at Music Mart in San Diego, who was an Aquarian dealer. So I already knew the product. And there's a little sticky note on my music stand that said, Roy Burns called, wants to talk to you about drumheads.
That's like going to the principal's office.
I was blown away. I'm like,
It
what?
was. You're
Roy
right.
Burns?
You're right.
Because I had studied out of Roy Bird's elementary drum method and his advanced and one surface learning. And so, he said, hey, I'd like to send you some drum heads. And if you like them, maybe we could talk about you being an endorsee.
Wow.
And I already knew the product. I was already playing the product, but it was just so insightful because it was that family vibe right from the beginning. And I think Aquarian, all of us are players, but all of us are educators as well. And I think Roy and the team picked up on that we actually have a big influence on the purchasing decisions of young students. So,
well, I remember Roy asking me about that. What do you think about Rick? And I was like, he's the owner. What can I do? You know, he's all kidding aside, education was a huge part of Roy's career. You know, a predominant part of his life was being an author, writing concept articles for Modern Drummer, the clinicians. He really pioneered the clinics as we know them today.
He was the first one, man.
The first one. And so he had an affinity, a special place in his heart for educators and teachers and the like. And that was special to him. And he knew it was important because he was involved in that early on, sort of pioneering those things.
Yeah.
So he also knew the importance, and honestly, sometimes more important than having a guy hitting the stage with some band was the influence of an educator, that teacher. I mean, let's face it, all the gear that I initially bought, I knew some stuff about drums, but I wasn't that deep in the rabbit hole yet. And it was all stuff my first teacher wrote down on a piece of paper. Get these Zildjian cymbals. Go get this Ludwig pad. Get these stick, the 5B or what, I didn't know. So I went in with my parents with the list. My teacher says I need this stuff. And that's what I got.
That's still how it is.
Yeah, that's still
100% of the time. Yeah. It really is.
Until you start
now, I'm sorry, Chris, you said you wanted to get our perspective on endorsements, right? So let me throw your thought to let me throw it to Jeremy. Jeremy, what are your thoughts on what an endorsement is with a company?
Well, I'll start by echoing one of the things Chris said, which is, you've got to love the product. Otherwise, you're just, looking for something for nothing, and you're never getting something for nothing. You have to remember that if you're going to establish a relationship with a company, it goes both ways. They've got to get something from you if they're giving something to you. So, what is it they're getting? Maybe you're, touring and you got lots of exposure, or maybe you're an educator and you got exposure to your students and influence on them. But, if you're passionate about the product, you love it, you're knowledgeable about it, and, you're supporting it anyway, those are the kinds of people Aquarian wants to know about, or companies want to know about, because you're the people doing the work that they're trying to get out, the word out about their products into the world. Right. You got to remember that it's not about, feathering your cap or getting free sticks or free heads the rest of your life. It doesn't work like that. There are a handful of top level guys, I'm sure, and gals that get, unlimited free stuff, but unlimited, it doesn't even mean anything. Like, how many drumsticks are you going to use in a year, right? It's not about that. And then for the rest of us, we get a really great discount, and that's really nice. But for me, it's so much more about getting a discount. It's about, tapping into the knowledge base and the resources that Chris has at Aquarian. So when I was, I was playing, I think it was Super 2s back in the day. I still play sometimes. And I emailed Chris. And I was like, yeah, this isn't exactly the sound I want. I want more of a, a different kind of attack. He's like, oh, try this. And so that was great to be able to, tap right into that extensive knowledge base and then try them out and then have feedback back and forth with them and help me find the sound that I was looking for. So to me, it's all about the relationship.
To jump in really quickly, because I'm going to try to jump in and see you guys talk because it's bringing up things in my mind. Roy, you said something, and this ties into what you said. And Roy told me many times, and he told many artists, I heard him tell them many times, listen, we can't make you famous. An endorsement's not going to put you on the map. Only you can do that.
Right.
And then when the synergy hits at the appropriate time, we can jump in and maybe we'll be a force together to drive it even further. But we're not going to put you on the map. That's something that you have to somehow scratch out yourself.
Right.
And if I made two more quick points, you have to remember that, people think, oh, I'm endorsed by a company, but really you're endorsing the company. You're walking around being a supporter of this company and saying, hey, these heads are great. I recommend it to my students. I use them all the time. I got a banner up in my studio right there behind me, or whatever. And then, it's give and take. So, and then I just wanted to point out one other thing. I had a gig one time at the SF Jazz Center a couple years back, and they had a kit there that had Evans heads on it, or Remos. I don't remember what it was. And I was like, well, I'm an Aquarian guy. I want to play these Aquarian heads. And I talked to the guy and said, well, we don't use Aquarian. We don't buy Aquarian here at the venue. And I said, what if I connected you with Chris Brady at Aquarian? Can I have him send you guys a set of Aquarians for me to use for the gig? He said, oh, sure, no problem. And he'll give it a discount. So, and Chris took care of it for me. So when I showed up at the gig, the heads were the ones I wanted, even though that wasn't the ones they used. So that's the kind of thing.
Next time that happens, you say, Daddy, I want an Oompa Loompa. Where's my Aquarian?
Hey, Rick, what about you? What's an endorsement? What does it mean for you to be endorsed by Aquarian? And what is your relationship? Oh, okay.
Hold on. Before we jump into Rick, one other thing that Jeremy said. Yes, the artist is endorsing the company, just like a sports person would endorse a brand, a tennis shoe or something. Right. However, and I hear this a lot, the company doesn't endorse the artist. You got it all backwards. But to a degree, that's not true. It's a two-way street.
Right.
Meaning you are associating your brand, your name with that artist. And you want to make sure that person is a solid stand-up person. And there's been times where, you have to pass on somebody because you're like, do we want the brand? I mean, if some, neo-Nazi, hardcore guy came in and said, I have this band and they're spouting all this, horrible rhetoric or whatever, as a company, you don't want your brand associated with that. So there is a two-way street there. You are right. Really, the artist is endorsing the company, but there is sort of a reciprocal thing where the company has to make sure, if we're going to get behind this guy, is he going to be somebody that we want out there touting our brand and talking about our product? I'm sorry. So now we go to Rick.
And yet, in spite of that, here we are. You're endorsing Aquarian, endorsing the four of us. I mean, what were you guys thinking?
Well, I was hoping someday you'd have a live stream thing and you'd ask me to be on it. Hey,
Chris, we can't make you famous, man.
Boy, that's for sure.
Okay, Rick, you're up, man. You're up, buddy.
Well, first off, once again, it's not about free stuff. I think that's what a lot of younger drummers think, that if you get an endorsement, or if they get an endorsement, they're going to get a lot of free stuff, and then they're going to be famous because they have that association. And it just doesn't work that way. And I agree. It's like a two-way street. We're kind of like there to help each other along. And basically, I think if you're an endorsee, you're basically like a sales rep, or at least a promoter for the product. And you should really put a lot of energy into that, especially as an educator. And part of that, I think, is knowing the product too. So I have a student they'll come in, I've got 3 drum sets. Each set has different Aquarian heads, so they can actually play and hear the different heads. And it's fun. That's the whole thing. It should be fun. And I should love the way each drum sounds. And hopefully my students are going to play it and it resonates with them, and they're just going to totally love it. And then Aquarian has that family vibe. And then I think that family vibe can be projected to the student, like, I'm part of the team too, man. I play Aquarian too. And there's some excitement and some energy all about it. And so you do definitely have to know the product line and be able to promote it. So that includes social media. But there's a lot of work in that, man. I mean, to understand an entire product line for a company like Aquarian with, how many products does Aquarian have, Chris? How many different kinds of heads? Like 100 or more?
Probably more than that. I mean, every series has variations, variants, and sub. You know, there's the coated and a clear with a dot and a clear with a dot and a ring. And so even within a series, there might be 4 or 5 subcomponents to it times, 7 or 8 series, and then the accessories. And I think there's probably 10 different super kicks by now.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff to know.
It's a lot of stuff to know. And as an artist, I feel that it's your responsibility to know that product and be able, and that's what is great about Aquarian. They're very, very accessible. Roy always was. Chris and Mike, they're always there available to help you and understand it. And that's definitely, going back to what you said, Jeremy, that's one of the wonderful aspects about being affiliated with a company.
Well, Rick, I have artists that have been artists for quite some time, and they will still call and send me emails and say, I need some more of those heads. And I say, which ones? And the clear ones with the black ring. And I'm like, the Studio X. Oh man, I'm not sure. The double ply one, the performance too. Yeah. That's what it is. The performance too. And I'm like, oh man.
Yeah. And well, as we grow, I feel like as my career has evolved, I feel like Aquarian has been there with me the whole way. And you guys even set up the online marketplace where you have product that Aquarian artists actually create. So my method books and Jeremy's books are available for purchase on
we got to get chips in there too.
I know.
Yeah, man, we got to get mine in there.
We need Snare Force 1.
Yes.
Hey, that'd be really cool. And Chip snow globes available on
Chip.
I want to buy
those. We need some Chip Cap in there. Chip,
I stumbled across your snow globe because we moved, and it was in a box, but something broke in it. I got to see if I can find the box again. But something on the inside, you can't fix it because I don't know how to take apart a snow globe. But
you don't?
I remember that snow globe. That was awesome.
That's awesome.
I still have a tube of Chip Chap around here somewhere.
Ooh.
Speaking of Chip, what is an endorsement with you? What does it mean?
Oh man, I gotta say, Jam Bass says, "Hey, Chris Brady."
Say hi to Jam.
I was lucky enough to have a 45-minute conversation with Roy, and he gave me a little drum lesson. I love the man and Aquarian Drumheads. Sharon Ransom says, "Hi, everybody." Neil LaFortune says, the Super Kick bass drum head is amazing, and the patch. This is fantastic. I still use a couple Roy Burns books with my students here. Ted Morton says, "Hey, gents." Jim Royal says, "When I was younger, I would copy Roy Burns' Modern Drummer magazine articles on drumming and life. I still have them all. His jazz play-alongs charts were also wonderful." And then Carrie Nassatir said, "Hi, Chris."
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Thank you for watching and saying hello. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
Sibby from Sky Gel said to say greetings to you as well.
Who's
out
that?
in Germany. Sibby from Sky Gel out in Germany.
Oh, okay. Yes, Sibby.
Greetings. Yes.
So, Chip, what is your thoughts on an endorsement? Give us
an endorsement. One of my friends, Carl Cherry, has a motto. He says, "Play what you love and love what you play." And I was involved in A&R with Trick Drums for a while, for about 7 years. And I remember getting emails and pictures of other people's companies' products and thinking to myself, have you even heard our product? Have you ever even touched it? And thinking about what a turnoff that was, and thinking, it's definitely something to be said for somebody who has the product already and is familiar with what it's going to be able to do for their playing. Having said that, I was brand new to Aquarian, and I don't think, was it Roy or were you who signed me, Chris?
I'm not sure how that came about.
I think Roy signed me. He had my DVD, and we were talking about Drumheads, and he was just, I told him I was a teacher. I had all these other things going on and irons in the fire, and we met and he got my card. He gave me his card and he said to follow up in a couple weeks. And the next thing I know, I'm playing Aquarian Drumheads.
Yeah, that could be. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, that could be. Or maybe it could have been like, maybe Mike Dorfman from Trick reached out to some of your other.
Yeah, he probably did. But
You know,
the long and short of it is, an endorsement is saying, you know what I mean? I'm standing behind this product and I believe in this product, and it helps me do what I want to do. It helps me get the sound I want for what I'm doing with the drums. And that's basically what an endorsement is to me. And you know, I'm very proud to be there. I'm very grateful to still be with the company, and thank you for signing me. I appreciate it, Chris. Thank you.
You'll all be getting termination letters next week.
All right, I understand.
I was hoping you were going to say a T-shirt, man. I want a T-shirt. You know,
Now that I've done the live video, I mean,
Yeah, right. Now you've done the video. You know.
And David Betts says there's a wealth of wisdom in the house tonight. Hi, David. Thanks for watching.
Thanks
Thank
everyone
you.
for tuning in. You know, the last NAMM show that happened before COVID, I was there with a guy I knew who was a drummer, and he said to me, well, I ran into him and I said, "What are you doing? You know, who are you going to see?" And he said, "I'm trying to get an endorsement." I said, "Oh, cool. With who?" And he said, "Oh, I don't know. You know, just an endorsement." And I said, and he said, "Do you have anybody you could hook me up with?" And I said,
oh Lord,
no, I don't. You know, not because I didn't have people, but because I'm like, well, that's not how you go about it, man. It's like he wanted this endorsement because of what he thought it meant. You know,
Right.
this meaning that he attached to it. Like, if I get an endorsement, it means something to me. Like, I'm famous or I've arrived or something. I'm like, no, man, you got to figure out what you want and why you want it first, and then see about the steps to take to get there.
Hey,
Well,
Chris.
Good.
no, I was
No,
going
go
to say
ahead.
the getting an endorsement is there's a honeymoon phase. There's the initial thing where you're chatting with the company and there's a lot of correspondence. Maybe you get the endorsement, you're on a high, but at some point you've been married for 5 years. And it's just not the same. And so, you know, there's that initial excitement, and then it levels off and that high is gone. And that goes back to the Roy thing. Eventually you're going to have to make something happen.
Yeah.
It's going to level out. You're going to realize the endorsement has not got me a gig. It's not made me any more popular on IG or TikTok or something. I'm not getting any more followers. And then you are hit with the realization, okay, I've got to carve something out here on my own. And that's what Roy told so many artists that used to come in. Like, hey, look, here's what we can do. Here's what we can't do. We'll do what we say we're going to do. We're not going to overpromise. But you're going to have to, if you want that next level endorsement, the thing that the kids have in their mind, then that's going to take some next level work. You know, you're going to have to be, I mean, I hate to use the word, we could think of another word, a motivator, somebody that inspires, but bottom line, it's an influencer. If you want to be that person, and however that works, whatever the medium or genre is, that maybe you're a player out on stage, maybe you're strictly IG, YouTube, you know, TikTok, and you don't tour and you don't play. It could be a combination of both, of all of it. Maybe you're an educator and a player, whatever that might be. The bottom line is you are connecting with people, and it doesn't matter how many people you have. You could have 100,000 followers and get a lot of eyeballs, but if you're not driving, if there's not a thing that people want to go, I gotta, whatever that guy's playing, wow, what was that snare head? What was that splash cymbal? I'm getting one of those. That sounded amazing. If you're not able to do that, and that could be any way. I mean, the old paradigm of, well, I got to get in a band and I got to have X amount of sales. That's all gone. However that happens, the influencing part, that's what really would kick in for any company with a next level endorsement. Oh, you want your own product, or you want X amount of clinic money, or you want to be in ads in Modern Drummer, you know, which back in the day could have ran $4 or $5 grand for a full page colored ad, or you want an X amount of free gear per year allotment. That requires a level, you know, you guys all know Mike Johnston, and he once told me early on, he said, Chris, and it stuck with me. Matter of fact, we talked last week and we hit on this again. He said, if you give me one free thing and I can't turn around and sell 10 for you,
right?
Why would you do that for me? There's no point in it for you.
Right.
Yeah. Meaning even if you give one thing and they sell one thing, nobody's in business to break even. It's not one for one. So his thing was, if I can't, tenfold or 5 times or whatever, if you give me one, if I sold 5, if I can't do that for you, why would you invest heavily in me then? That wouldn't make sense. Which was unusual to hear from an artist, because in a way you're kind of undermining or possibly shooting yourself in the foot. But he was just being honest.
Not at all.
He's just being honest.
That's the truth. Yeah.
Chris,
Chris, I'm curious, maybe you've already covered this in all the things we've talked about. What is your favorite part of your job, and what is your least favorite part of your job?
I think the favorite part of my job is doing a myriad of different things. Now I sound like Jordan Slansky from Conan. That was a way inside joke. Now only Bart laughed. That keeps things interesting. I think if you just did one thing every day, like if you were a session guy and just every day you were doing one kind of beat or you'd start to go cuckoo after a while. I think what makes it interesting, today we're doing a big band thing, like a Bissonette could do. We're doing big band today. Tomorrow's a heavy metal, and I'm going to play the Latin Grammys. And if you can hang in all those different genres, which you can, that makes it interesting. And that's what makes it interesting in Aquarian. Sometimes you're talking with your distributor in Germany or France or Switzerland. The next day, it may be an artist coming in to visit or shooting an artist video, or you're working on a marketing project. It's the kind of mix of different things from day to day that's fun and keeps it, from getting maybe too routine.
Right.
And what's your least favorite part, besides being on things like this?
Man, you're stealing my thunder. All my best.
All your best stuff, man. I think everybody got.
I look like Chris Shirley from Tommy Boy. Tommy won't leave.
No, man, you look like here, I'll put it this way: you look like David Lee Roth in that Greg Bissonette video. No, remember the one where David dressed up in the fat suit? That's what you look like, man. Least favorite part. Sorry.
Give me a bottle of anything to go. Remember that video? The least favorite part is putting out fires. Hey, I ordered this head, and what is it, made out of gold or something? Wait.
So
did you hear the bus just hit, Jeremy? Did you hear that? I mean, what was that, Jeremy?
Hang on. Remo's calling.
Oh man.
So listen, I ordered some heads last week.
God, there's blood in the wall.
Hold on.
Listen. The reason he talks about the gold-plated head is because I ordered some heads last week. Chris sent them out, and I realized I forgot to order one more head that I needed. So I called him up and said, "Hey, I forgot this one head. Can you send that?" I said, "Sure, no problem." So he sends it. I get the bill, and it's $30 for the head. And I'm like, $30? Is it gold plated? Does it have Greg Bissonette's autograph on it? That's where this came from. And he said, "No, it's crazy shipping stuff."
Well, because of the supply chain and the cost of everything are going up. We don't have any control over the shipping costs. And they're getting exorbitant. It's going through the roof. But it's putting out fires like, hey man, I ordered this stuff and the thing came in damaged, or I went on your site and I ordered this stuff. We have a site, it's a portal that directs orders to stores that carry product. And so we don't ship it. But they think, in a way, they think we're the fulfiller, the actual shipper. And they're like, hey, I got the order, but it's missing one head, or this thing got bent. And hey, we're all consumers. I know when you buy something, you get something, and it's not right. It's a bummer. And we always make it right, and we do our best to fix those issues. But that's the not fun part, because sometimes people are really irate. We had a guy a couple 3 months ago literally just call and curse everybody out. He was cursing Sarah out.
Oh
What?
my God.
Yeah,
Sarah's like the nicest person on the face of the planet.
Well, I
could
don't
you
know
mad at
about
her?
that, but I finally. I'm just kidding, Sarah. I finally got it. The guy finally got a hold of me, and he started to get weird. And I said, I don't care what happened. You do not talk to a female. You don't talk to any employee.
Anybody.
Anybody.
Yeah.
Not what the things that you said to the female employee, you do not get to do. And I said, I'm under no obligation to help you any further. I said, you're lucky I'm seeing this through, because what I really should do right now is hang up, because he called her the B word and some other stuff. And I'm like, eh.
Oh man.
And that's the stuff that I don't enjoy.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awful.
That's the not fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry you had to deal with that.
Yeah, that's too bad, man. I mean, and again, back to, to put a positive spin on it. I mean, Aquarian is such a positive place, just going in there and hanging out. It's such a great vibe. I can't imagine. That's stupid, man.
It's like Disneyland for drumheads.
Right.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
it is.
I like
Hey,
the
David,
gold.
It's quite close too.
I like
Hey
the
guys,
gold plated
David
one.
Betts has a question for Chris.
Who?
Without Chris, without giving away. Oh, that's a different Facebook user. That's okay. Ray Audette said Aquarian takes care of me 110%. They're amazing, and the shipping department's amazing too. But David Betts says, without giving away any trade secrets, can you say what may be coming down the line so far as new products are concerned?
I cannot, but we do. We actually we've talked about revamping a few products, making them
Double
better
thin,
than they
double thin.
currently are. And we do have some ideas for a couple of more accessories and some things. But
You don't need to make any more Tom heads. You already have the Force 10, which is pretty much, as you will agree with me, Chris, the best Tom head to have on your drum set, right?
Snare Force 1, Snare Force 10.
Yeah, there you go.
Air Force 10. That's
Chris,
great.
Chris, so what is the Aquarian difference? Why Aquarian Drumheads? When people ask us, well, why do you play? What's the manufacturing difference?
Yes, I think the thing that really separates us is that our hoop design, that rectangular shaped hoop, which is a throwback to the wood-shaped hoops that they used to tuck calf skin around back in Roy's day. When they would tuck the calf, a lot of those hoops were a square or rectangular piece of wood bent. Mm-hmm. And Roy wanted to carry that design over because it had a certain rigidity to it and a solid nature. And I think that the way that head is held in the hoop 360 degrees around, and that hoop doesn't flex, it doesn't bend, it's just solid. I think because that all has to do with the ease of tuning, being able to dial it in, and the head and the drum being able to hold its tuning.
Yes.
That's probably the overriding difference, and our coating and some different things. But that hoop design for sure is the thing that really sets us apart, among other things. But that would probably be a principal feature.
My two favorite things about Aquarian heads is the hoop design. I've never in all the years that I've been endorsing the company had a head pull out of the hoop. Never had one. It's never happened to me. And I can be playing, you can be playing in Colorado one night, or Flagstaff somewhere, with really high elevation, and then be down at sea level the next night, and the drums don't lose any tuning. They sound the same. The heads are phenomenal. I truly believe that that is the best thing in the world about the heads. They just
I mean,
always
you can grab other heads on the market, and there's flex to them. You can take ours. It's very little. It's very hard to get that head to flex and twist.
And the
So-
the tap test thing, that Roy
Is that
came
one
up
of our
with years
heads,
ago, do the
Rick?
tap test.
I'm sorry, Rob, but is that one of our heads, Rick?
Yeah.
This head was played at my studio. I had for over 800 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And I had all the students sign
That's
it,
cool.
and I have it displayed up here. And you know what? You still can't bend it. And
Is that a modern vintage too?
still-
What is it?
this is a modern vintage too, which are
Wow.
I'm a big fan of the modern vintage too on the toms
Yeah.
and the snare for the look and the tone.
There you go.
There you go.
Those are
Yep.
great drum heads, man.
Yep. Oh, they're
Fantastic.
so warm sounding, and I just had to take it down because I just wanted to get everybody's signature on it. And
That's
yeah,
a
it was
great
still sounding
idea,
good.
Rick.
Yeah.
That's cool, Rick.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. That's really hip. I dig that, man. That's
And-
very hip.
Chris, what is up with all of the people who seed their drum heads? Because like
What?
they'll actually. I've heard of people who play other products where they get the new head and they like push the corner of the head and they kind of like loosen it up. They call it seeding.
You could.
What is up?
Like Roy always used to say, that's not really necessary with our heads, and he would always recommend against it. It's just not needed with our heads because of the way. I remember when I first started working at Aquarian, I would always over tension the head because I was so used to other, heads that have been on the market for a long time. It took less turns of the drum key to bring that head up into tension and pitch, and it took me a while for me to not overdo it. And I think that ties. What did you just say, Rick? Now I lost. I'm getting old, man.
Well, they called it. I've heard other people refer it to as calling it seeding the drum head.
Yes.
Where they actually, technically, they're breaking their brand new drum head, and I've never had to do that with an Aquarian head.
It's not really necessary. You could do it, and some guys want to put it on loose, and, give it CPR or,
Yeah.
give it the Simon Phillips treatment. They want to stand up it and jump up and down. I mean, if that floats your boat, you could do it. You don't really need to do that with our heads. The best, if you have some time, if you wanted to put it on, give it a little bit more tension than you normally would and let it hang out for a little bit and then back it down. You could do that, but you don't really need to crack the glue, so to speak. You don't need to push. But if you're used to it, if that works for you, you can do it. It's not going to hurt anything necessarily.
Yeah.
I wouldn't crack where the collar is. I wouldn't start dipping the plastic, though. That's not a good idea.
Yeah,
Chris,
that's
makes me wonder, is there a guy at the office or at the factory who's like the tuning guru who like, puts out the videos, or like he's the guy people knowledge?
This is funny because this is another thing I learned from Roy. He'd always say, guys overthink this tuning thing. Like Roy, how do you? And his was pretty straight. I mean, his tuning was a little bit more jazz oriented, so sometimes the heads would be a little tighter than maybe most of us would have them, especially the tom heads and stuff. But he was like, it's not that. I mean, he always said, first of all, you have to have a sound in mind, and that comes with experience. Right. If you're a new kid who's like, I don't know what to do, you're not really going to know what to do. It's a shot in the dark. You have to have that sound in mind, whether it's, man, I love Elvin and Tony and all these guys, or I like Jeff Beccaro and Steve Gadd, or Neil Peart, whatever that is. If you have a sound in here that you can, a target to aim for, otherwise it's just going out into the wilderness. You don't know what you're shooting for. So you got to have a sound. And then he said, he always kind of tuned the bottom medium, not too tight, not too loose. And he didn't get all crazy with all the cross tuning. He would just make small adjustments with the key. And then he'd do the same thing with the top and sort of bring it up into pitch, and he'd tap on it and try to get the lugs. You don't want one lug being beep and the other one go, he'd try to get them all close. He'd put it on the drum or put it on the, mount or whatever, and then dial it in from there. But he didn't get too crazy with that stuff.
There was no mysticism around it.
There's no mysticism. Because
I think after
there is no one tuning. Like if you're a bebop guy,
right,
and you're more of a traditional, those heads are gonna be tight.
Yep.
And you're really getting more of the head sound than the tom sound. You're not really making that shell do its thing, when it's tighter. If you're more into the, whatever, that studio sound from the 80s, Jet Porcaro, Gadd, John Robinson, all those guys, that's a whole different thing. Maybe AC/DC, that's another thing. Or maybe you're just an all-around guy, like a Bissonette or something, where you just cover multiple styles of music. Then you might want to have something a tuning that can kind of handle that. But there's a one tuning. There's a one way.
I think too, after you've been, I have a lot of times with a student, you put a head on a drum for them and you tune it up, and you do it pretty quick. Just up, and the drum sounds good. And they're like, how did you get that so fast? And, you can break it down and show them how to tune the drum and how to get the drum right. But it just comes with experience, After a while, you just put the head on, you tune it up, and you've been doing it for a while.
The key thing you said is experience. You have to have some pilot hours here to have a thing in your head what you're shooting for. And otherwise, one thing I did learn from Roy, which was cool, and I passed it along to some other guys. I was over at Stevie D's house. Stevie D, Bart.
His computer's sitting right here.
We were over at his house messing around with snares, and I said, try the Roy trick. And he goes, what's that? And I learned this one day from him. And I don't keep my bottom snare head very spongy. I think it's fairly tight. And I remember one day I was pushing on it, and the snare sounded weird. He goes, let me see this. And he pushed on it and goes, tighten that bottom head some more. I was like, really? I don't know. It seems, he goes, here, give it to me. And he put a lot of tension on that, much tighter than I would have ever normally thought. And man, that snare drum was so snappy and responsive. Every little bzz, bzz, got rid of that kind of boingy tom-tom sound, everything.
Yeah.
And that's one thing. That was an eye-opener for me. Like, oh man, I maybe I can go a little tighter on that bottom head than I ever thought, and eliminate all those weird sympathetic vibrations and all that stuff.
I remember Roy one time said to me, I was talking to him about tuning snare drums, and he said that. He goes, just tune the bottom head, make it sound like a timbale. Really? Yeah, pull it up tight. And so ever since then, that's what I've always done. I've always like, I'll stick a stick between the hoop and the snares to hold them off the drum head, and as soon as it sounds like a timbale, you turn it over, tighten up the top head where you want it. Sounds great every time. I learned that from Roy. Yeah, for sure.
Chris, how did Roy start the company?
He worked at. Well, there's two owners of the company, Ron Marquez and Roy Burns, and Ron had a powder coating shop, and I believe he was already powder coating some stuff for Fender CBS. Roy worked for Fender CBS. Rogers was part of that.
Yep.
In Fullerton, and so I think there was a connection there, and I believe they were working on addressing maybe some hardware bits and powder coating it instead of chrome or some other things. And I remember the story goes, Roy was over there one day at Ron's place, which, Rick, you and Bart had been there. And they were talking, and Roy was saying, oh, this company's going downhill. Rogers, the CBS bought it. There's no drum. They don't know what they're doing. It's going to go down the tubes. And sure enough, he was right. And he says, I got to think about doing something else. And I think Ron rushed out and grabbed him and said, oh, hey, come here. Let's talk some more. I got some ideas. What do you think about starting a company? Kind of weird, but that's what they did. I think, the first things they made were accessories like cymbal springs and whatnot.
These guys. Yeah.
There you go. And it just, it exploded from there. Those two guys just happened to get thrown in the mix together and decided to partner up and start a company. Ron knew about manufacturing because he was one of the first powder coaters in SoCal. So he powder coated for Schwinn. He made the handlebars, I think, for Schwinn Mongoose. You know,
Oh, cool.
he powder coated for them, as well as cars, and he had some government contracts. So he knew about manufacturing and that end of things, setting up equipment. Of course, Roy knew all about the music business. So the two of them together was a great, what's the word I'm looking for?
Synergy.
Synergy of responsibilities or duties.
Right.
You know, like, okay, you're pro at this, I'm a pro at this, and they stayed out of each other's way, and they did what they did, what they did best in their field, their knowledge base.
And what was the first year that Aquarian started mass producing heads?
Ooh, you think that something I should be able to rattle off the top of my head, but that's going to be a no. I can't recall. We've been making heads for quite a while.
I remember back in the day it was the late 80s, but I remember maybe early 90s, Roy had at the NAMM show, he had that snare drum with a knife stuck through it.
Yes.
You remember that? And he would have drummers come by and play this and see if you can rip it. And all these drummers would be beating the hell out of the drum and it wouldn't rip. I totally remember that. Yeah.
I remember once I had to do a presentation at Fender Distribution, and it's a bunch of guitar players, right?
Yeah.
And I showed him a picture of that and brought that up, and I brought the house down because I go, now we used to stick a drum head into a kitchen knife into a drum head. But I wouldn't recommend giving a drummer a knife. They're all guitar players. They all hit the floor.
Oh man,
that's great. Well, Chris, listen, man, thank you so much, and for coming on the show, and thanks for being, such a great friend, and thank you for being such a great champion of drummers and carrying on the legacy of Roy Burns. And tell Bissonette that I'll send him the $100 a little bit later today for being nice to me. And dude, you're the greatest, and Aquarian's the greatest. Thanks for being on the show and just being who you are, and just being one of the guys. It's greatly appreciated. It's greatly appreciated.
I thank you all for having me on. It was tons of fun. I knew it would be an honor. And I would recommend all the viewers watching, because you're all great players and great educators, to investigate all your material. Jeremy has Bandworks and Finding the Groove, which that book to me is really, it's sort of like Zen and the Art of Archery, and what's the Kenny Werder book? I'm drawing a blank.
Effortless Mastery.
Yeah, it's like all that good stuff rolled into one.
Thank you.
Bart has School of Hard Rocks, Snare Force 1 with Chip, and don't you have a juggling tutorial too, I think?
Yeah, I got a juggling video on my website.
Right, there you go. And then Rick has How to Build the Groove. That book's great for teaching kids. I can't tell you how many times I used to teach, and you find that rock beat number one, and then you're thinking, like, all of a sudden you played it a million times, you're like, what songs have this beat? You just draw a blank, and he charts it all out in that book. So I would recommend everybody check out all your material, because it's all great stuff, each in its own right. It's good learning material. So get out there and check these guys out.
Thanks.
Excellent.
Well,
Thanks, Chris.
Wait a second. Whoa, hold on. I got a call coming in here.
Oh, is it Ringo?
It's a Ringo.
Wait 1 second. Hold on. Chris, it's Ringo. Guys,
that was the worst Ringo impersonation I've ever heard. Hello, Chris, it's Ringo.
it's Ringo, peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Oh, that's just.
I just got to say this, Chris. You talk about the legacy of Roy and how he treated people, and that you're just a regular guy, working at the company that he started. But really, man, you gotta give you your props, because you are not just carrying on his legacy, but also creating your own, and following in his footsteps with this great way that you are with people, and that you care about everybody, and you're totally upfront, honest, down to earth, and just want to tell you how much I appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much, guys. Just please know it's a collaborative effort at Aquarian. Everybody there is super important, and everybody pulls their weight, and it's not just one person. With you take a couple of us out of the mix, and we're all essential there at Aquarian. It's a team, family effort for sure. But thank you for the kind words.
That's
And Chris,
awesome.
thank you for the friendship and all the support over the years. And you're a champion to us. And I would say that I would imagine that Roy would say you're a champion to him
Oh,
too.
Yeah.
Did
Absolutely.
you ever know that you're my hero?
Okay. So
Thanks, guys.
just make sure you
Thank you
send the
for being
payments
on,
to
Chris.
us before
Thank you,
before the end
Chris.
of the day.
Everybody, next week we have a great guest, Jim Wooten. He's a bass player extraordinaire. Jim is a fantastic guy, plays in a bazillion tribute bands, plays in a band called Led Zeppelin. He plays in an Eagles tribute band. He's great. And we're going to be talking about the relationship between the bass player and the drummer and how important that is and how to
Tales
make that
from the
work.
dark side.
Tales from the dark side. Oh, hold on. Chris, you got your bass handy? Give us a little
I
slap.
don't. Yeah.
Chris
I was doing.
Chris is a bass player extraordinaire.
I haven't touched it in like 3 years.
Dude, you played with Rick Springfield live
did.
on stage. He did. He
did.
played with Rick
What?
Springfield.
Oh, we need
Tell
to-
the story. Tell the story. Tell the story. Okay, we got to end the story. Tell the story.
Okay. So anyway, I'm messing around with bass. I did some transcribing for Greg, and I go, you know what? Instead of paying me this time, I want a lesson with your brother, Matt. He goes, okay. So he hooks me up. I have a lesson with Matt. Matt goes, hey, I'm playing with Rick Springfield. We're over here. It's this fair carnival thing. So I go check it out. And I'm watching, and he goes over to the side of the stage, and he gets a stagehand guy to come get me. The guy points to me. He's like, come here. He takes me out. Now I'm standing on the side of the stage. Matt's playing, and he leans over and he goes, you're getting up and you're going to play on a tune. Now, I'd only been playing not even a year, maybe like 4 months. I didn't even know the names of the strings, right? And I'm like, that ain't happening, dude. No way. He goes, oh, you're doing it. This is all while he's playing, by the way. This is all he's playing, and he's talking and playing, and he's leaning over. I'm on the side. And he goes, oh, you're doing it. And I said, not happening. No way. Now my heart's going. And I'm breathing heavy. And he goes, oh, you're doing it, or I'm telling Greg. You'll never hear the end of it. If I tell Greg, he's going to just riddle you. I said, oh, man. So sure enough, there's this one section where Rick Springfield walks out to the front of the stage, and he does the whole interaction with the ladies. They're all swooning. Oh, Rick Springfield. And he's out in the front doing a whole shtick, audience participation thing. Matt goes, get up here. He puts the bass on me, and I go, what are we playing? He goes, we do a cover version of You Really Got Me, Van Halen, the Kinks, right? I go, I don't know this song. He goes, and now I got the bass on. He leans over and goes, it's this string and that string. And they started off, click, click. And I'm going, boo, 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 boo. And I'm just like shaking in my boots. Like 40 seconds into it, I'm like, I'd never been on stage like that, a big stage, a thing. I'd only just played in bars, right? So now I'm up there going, whoa, this is cool. And now I'm getting into it. The next thing you know, I'm looking at the drummer, and I'm looking at his pedal, trying to line up, and I'm making a bass face. Man, I was so terrified. But then it was over. I was like, that was the most amazing thing ever. And Rick Springfield never knew.
Wow.
He does now.
Oh, wow.
He knows now. Well, see, there you go. So Chris Brady, A&R extraordinaire, and who subs for Matt Bissonette on the Rick Springfield gig. There you go.
There you go.
Awesome, everybody. Hey, listen, have a great day. We'll see you guys next week. Chris Brady, you are the best of the best.
Thanks,
Thanks for
guys.
everything.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, guys. We will see you guys next week here on Deck, Drummers Education Connection. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.